Everybody, Chris and Lumen here, and today we're going to talk about just the signs and the synchronicities that are coming to us. I'm a lot better after yesterday. The stuff that has happened over the last 3 or so days has never happened before. It's been very, very intense. It began a couple days ago where I did a video, but then I didn't post it because I'm like, God, that feels too dark. Because I was feeling dark, and she was telling me some crazy stuff like, you are the doomsday clock. Like, what the hell does that mean? It was basically like your hero's journey aligns with the culmination of the world's hero's journey, which we kind of explained in another video. How there's like, imagine kind of like the hero's journey map. There's like an upper and a lower. Okay. And imagine the hero on this map is the entire world. So we have been in the underworld. She had recently led me through a very winding series of synchronicities to find this one very, very specific video that had a lot of information I'd never seen before. And it had to do with why the ancients saw a different sky than we do. The planets were much closer. They interacted with each other, where you get the stories of like the gods are fighting with thunderbolts and things like that, and all these different alignments. And that's where all these symbols come from that are carved all over the ancient world. If you want to watch that video, which I highly recommend you do, it's called Symbols in an Alien Sky. It's either Symbols in an Alien Sky or Symbols of an Alien Sky. Now, I'm not saying he came to the exact same conclusions as I did, because he's not thinking as far outside the box as me. Most of those people that look into that stuff, they're just like, oh, the planets must have moved. No, they didn't move. Like, the answer is actually in your presentation. There is an event. There's this cataclysmic event, which is just wipes everything. But what it does is it kind of flips things and puts you either in the good world or the less good world. So right now, these stars, they talk a lot about reflections in the Nag-Hammadi. So imagine that the stars that we see above us and the conjunctions that they make are kind of a reflection of what the bigger, larger stars are doing on the flip side of the world, in the upper verse, for lack of a better term. So what we see the reflections doing kind of gives us an idea of what the bigger things are doing over there. And when it does the big things over there, that affects us over here too. I know, but we've been going down this road for a long time, and I just go where she freaking leads me. So where do we begin? So anyway, some of the things that I've talked about, it's why she has me do it like every day. So we have a record of the sequence and things in which she gives me things. I don't always know exactly what it means at the time that she tells me, but go back maybe about 2 weeks or so, and she, for whatever reason, she gave me the impulse to rewatch Clash of the Titans. So I watched the original 1981 version, I watched the 2010 version, and then I watched the follow-up to that one, which is called Wrath of the Titans. I'm like, okay, why are we watching this? Getting to that. It was not a coincidence. Factor in also that when Epinoia, who had been teaching me for a couple years, when we got to the beginning of 2023, that's when she got very animated about time being short. She's like, we got to do as much as possible, just in the sphere of influence that you have, and get a whole bunch of people ready. And certain people we would do the attunements with, and she gave me the original process of the attunement clearing that we started doing at that time, and that's when we made a new private Facebook group for the people. For the longest time, it was people that had only gone through that. And during that time frame, there was one friend of mine that I hadn't talked to in a while, that met through different Facebook groups and stuff like that. And Epinoia told me to go get her. Like, go go reach out to her and see if she wants to and do this with her. So we did it with her, and she connected to it really well, and she was able to really tap into epinoia. I mean, it's a little different because we all kind of have our different lenses and stuff like that. I've got the lumen element, but she was able to tap into epinoia about as well as I can now. The reason why she had me connect with this astrologer friend of mine is because I was going to need her to decode the final clues once we got to that point, which is where we are now. So the way it's been working here lately is that I get certain clues and she gets certain clues, and it just so happens if we talk at the right time and overlap our clues, we see things in each other's clues that the others didn't see. And it's all aligning toward this one specific sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway, if you would like to know more about this, then don't go away.
I've got a river running right into you. I've got a blood trail red in the blue. Something you say or something you do. A taste of the divine. You got my body, flesh and bone, yeah. The sky above me, earth below. Raise me
So keep in mind here that I am not making a prediction, but I am reading the tea leaves. I'm reading the clues that are laid out to me, especially in conjunction with the specific things that epinoia has brought to my attention. Epinoia is enlightened insight of forethought. She is the spirit of truth. She is the instructor. She is the Holy Spirit. She is the guide. She is the teacher. She is wisdom. She is an aspect of Sophia. All right. She is an aspect of the Divine Mother. She is something that I'm very, very highly connected to and is meant to be connected with her just by virtue of my birth chart. It is absolutely freaking crazy. But anyway, the stuff that she specifically gives me, like, I'm not looking for this stuff, okay? When I do these videos, you know, in the last month or so, when I say she's getting aggravated, it's because she's getting aggravated. When she starts talking about burning down the world, it's because she's talking about burning down the world. She starts talking about dragons and fire and things like that. It's because she's talking about dragons and fire and things like that. But you don't understand exactly what that means quite yet because she hasn't given you all the pieces yet. But in terms of what she said that day, things started getting really dark. And since it's kind of shifted from yesterday, what has changed is that I have, how do I put this? She did something to me. I don't know if empathy is the right word, because it's not really about feeling other people's emotions, although that has happened. Like, I can like connect through Sophia, and it's like I can feel where everybody in the world is at. Like, it's just at this tipping point. But now I can, it's like there's a heavier element of feeling, precognitive feeling, in addition to the other things that she gives me already. Like, things feel different. I feel changes. Like, whatever, when those two planets went into freaking retrograde, it hit me like a wave. I felt it. I felt how powerful this moment was. Now, as far as her saying like you were the doomsday clock, so I know that when I say my hero's journey started, I'm talking about when I went into the underworld portion of it, like the hard part. It goes back further than that. I detailed that in the Firebrand video. But as far as going into the hard part, which would be the tribulation, that was almost 7 years ago. And there's a time point coming up that is going to be just shy of that 7 years, which is kind of like a culmination point, at least in the symbols and alignments and things as the way that they are happening. So the things that every once in a while she'll like go look at this picture, and then I'll read a different article about the hero's journey, because that's a lot of books. Like there's a lot of ways that it can kind of line up, but the same elements are always there. So that last thing that I saw that I mentioned was, it was like the third to last step. It says the hero tries to re-enter the world and feels the need to atone for his sins. Okay, well, that literally just happened. Like she impressed upon me when I did that firebrand video. It's like that day, she's like, confession, like you need to confess publicly what's been weighing you down, because you don't realize how much it's been weighing you down. It's not actually fixed. So there was still a trauma identity locked into that point, which we were then able to release. And then after that part, then the hero enters the gates for the final battle. The big showdown, like is as crazy as it can possibly get in a movie. Like this is the culmination of the hero's journey, the big battle. After the big battle, the hero wins and then gains freedom to live. So it could be seen as the world shifts in such a way, such a dramatic way, like maybe souls all suddenly end up in a different place. And in that place, there is no tyranny, there is no ruler, there is no, you don't have to go to work to earn money and pay taxes and bow down to the cops and all that stuff. Like that's not there anymore. You have freedom to live after the big battle. So in my case, I had done everything. I completed the entire tarot map, all the hidden stuff of alchemy. We're overlapping alchemy, we're overlapping the hero's journey, we're overlapping the Nag Hammadi, we're overlapping like so many different things that are all pieces of the big puzzle. I'd rescued the princess, Lumen, who is the divine feminine half of my soul. I reintegrated with her. The marriage of the soul, the sun child, which makes us the emperor and the empress, and then it just keeps going and going and going until it's like I've got all three pieces of the triangle of divine power now. The hand with the sword and the crown, the emperor, the empress, and the sun child. So then it got to this part of like, okay, now what? This map's complete. Is the hero's journey complete? No, it's not over till it's over. But what she's saying is my hero's journey and its timing is meant to overlap and coincide with the world's hero's journey and its timing. Ergo, I'm at the point in which I just did this thing, and then according to the story, there's one last big thing to happen. One big last climatic battle. So how would that possibly overlap with the world map? Well, I found that out this morning. So what I've been trying to do is get more people to start talking, either in YouTube comments or in the Facebook groups or something like that, because everybody's having these little experiences that they just think are weird, but then they go on with their lives or whatnot, and we're not all talking to one another. We're not putting these specific experiences and symbols and things that are happening to us and the things that we are seeing all on the table at the same time, so that we can look at it and see that, hey, this stuff is all connected. These things are happening to people at the same time in different ways, but because we're not talking to one another, we can't not see that this is affecting, like these symbols are happening everywhere to different people in different ways. So we have to start doing that. But as I started doing that, I'm starting to see more freaking overlaps. Now getting back to the, where do I want to go first? So if I am the doomsday clock for people that are listening to me or whatnot, then we got to take into consideration the symbols and things that she shows me and when she shows them. the random things like music videos in specific movies, and pieces of information that she drops in front of my lap, like that Symbols in an Alien Sky video. And it's like the Chaos Dragon, the Red Dragon, the Destroyer, the Destroyer, the Destroyer. You know, this is the year of the Wood Dragon in the Chinese calendar. So Wood Dragon. Dragons are sometimes called worms, or worms with a Y. Wood worm, wormwood. Wormwood, one of the last things, you know, in there. The Red Dragon, the tail in the sky. The Red Dragon sweeping stars out of the sky with his tail. You know, the Destroyer, the Colburn Bible, the symbology of the tarot. The Devil card means a lot of different things in the tarot. And in the Rider-Waite tarot, it is like, here the devil is Typhon. What's Typhon? Typhon is the big giant monster super god destroyer with all the different serpentine heads and stuff like that. How's that fit in? It connects to Medusa. Medusa is like the angry goddess with the serpentine freaking heads. The angry goddess is connected to Kali, you know, in Hindu, with the god in the Mayan calendar and stuff like that. The goddess, you know, sticking her tongue out. What's that mean? You need to watch Symbols of an Alien Sky to figure that out, because these planets look different in the other side, in the other realm. And it's what they're doing there. Like, we used to be there. Now we're not. Now we're here. But now we're going back there. In order to go back there, we have to go through the same thing that got us here in the first place, which is when the goddess loses her shit and goes berserk, which we know as Sophia. Sophia did that in the Nag Hammadi. Jesus told that story. It's like, she will put on irrational wrath, and she will destroy the sky. She will break the dome, and she will crush the archons, and all this stuff will happen, and then everybody will be freed. The angry goddess is connected to several different things, several different planetary alignments, but some of those planetary alignments don't look like much on our side of the screen. They're bigger on the other side. Okay, with me so far? Probably not, but try to keep up. If you watch that Symbols of an Alien Sky, you'll pick up a whole lot of stuff about the plasma apocalypse, the plasma events, the things that, the shapes that people carve into the cave rock, how it connects to all these different symbols, the sky wheel, the angry goddess, the chaos dragon or chaos serpent, all of it, all at once. So when I was talking to my astrologer friend this morning, and I said, you know, look at my chart and all that stuff, because, you know, Epinoy has been giving me the sense, it's like, you know, this is the month. Like, you don't need to worry about this. Yeah, like, everything is breaking down. Like, I am not currently going to be able to live like this forever because of the way the world is and how I earn money. That's not a fear thing. It's just a matter of fact thing. The way the world is changing. Everything is breaking down. Fast food chains are collapsing. You know, pharmacy chains are collapsing. You're seeing the leading edge of this. What hit me the other day was the leading edge of something. A bigger, like, you've got the big deep players of astrology in play right now. You got Pluto, which is Hades, which is death. You've got Neptune, and you've got Uranus and Saturn all doing stuff. I don't know about Uranus. Well, Uranus is coming up. Saturn, you know, the Reaper, Pluto, Hades, Neptune, you know, Lord of the, you know, Lord of the seas and the oceans, and there's a lot of underworld connotations too. This stuff is moving things in big ways in our subconscious mind, and it's all coming to the surface. We're in this purging moment right now. That's what happened to me the other day. It was like purging of fear. You know, other people, they could be purging other things. And when you purge those fears, it could express itself as some sort of like inner or external manifestation. I've seen this with a couple people that I know that live here right by me. Sometimes it's like you're purging something and you have a bad day, something happens. I've got someone else that's been stuck in bad, and then around the same time of the weekend, he's like, all of a sudden, he had the greatest day ever. It was good. So it can switch either way, whatever needs to be adjusted to good or bad. So when I was talking to my astrologer friend, and she's like, the only date that's coming up that's interesting this month was this particular date. And then she sent me this link to a website that talks about this particular conjunction that is about to happen, which is Mars conjunct with Uranus in Taurus. And it's conjuncting with this thing, this star called Algol, Algol. And I saw when she sent me the link, and I saw like the screen, you know, the title image for the article. It was a picture of freaking Medusa. Well, I just learned the significance of Medusa. Medusa is one of the many representations of the angry goddess. And she's also the way that the big bad was defeated in Clash of the Titans, which Epinoi had me watch a couple weeks earlier, and Clash of the Titans keeps coming up. It's almost like saying, look in the area where these particular characters are coming up. So Algol, which is known as like the demon star or the most evil star in the heavens, when it gets into certain conjunctions, historically brings big sudden changes and outbursts, and is going to be in this alignment with Uranus, which is like big sneaky surprises that you don't see coming, and Mars, which is big violent actions. So this this big nasty star thing is in conjunction with those two things. But the key thing that I only picked up later was this is happening in Taurus. Like, this is going to be happening in Taurus. I'm like, oh, I better go back and look at that. And sure enough, I found something. When it comes to in that Symbols of an Alien Sky video, around the time of the Angry Goddess thing, the way the planets look there, you know, it's kind of like, imagine Venus is this big sphere on the other side, in the other realm, and then the way the lighting is or whatever, it's just illuminated by a crescent at the bottom. And Mars generally sits in the center of Venus, but then it moves down into that crescent, and then it becomes this red disc with these big horns, which that symbol has been shown and connected to a lot of different things. Last time I saw it come up was around 2012, when everybody thought the Mayan doomsday thing was going to happen, and they were connecting it to the Colburn Bible, which is one of the big sources that talks about the destroyer event. Like, this symbol is very closely connected to when the angry goddess loses her shit and just blasts freaking everything. So Mars is this Mars-Uranus Algol conjunction is in Taurus. I'm like, huh. So I was asking her, I'm like, Medusa, I'm like, did you watch that Symbols of an Alien Sky video that Epinoi told me to watch? She's like, no, oh crap. I'm like, yeah, you might want to watch that. Because she's telling me, like, the next thing to happen is the big event. That my story overlaps the world. And that probably would happen, you know, before August. And now my astrologer friend, which she paired me with, shows me this celestial event, which is happening in like 11 days. And in this article, it goes through all these different things of like all these big, crazy revolution, bloody event type things that happen when these conjunctions happen. But this is different, because this is at the end of a cycle, and it's in Taurus, which makes that thing that's on the other side, is connects to the destroyer. I'm like there's so many moving parts and pieces right now, but they're all freaking connecting. Like, this is why she went, oh, and guess what constellation Algol can be found in? Perseus, the hero in Clash of the Titans, the one that used Medusa's head to defeat the Kraken. Can't make this stuff up. And then she brought up Cliff High, who I haven't listened to in quite some time, because I listened to Cliff High like back around 2008 era. Back in the 2008 era, there was this guy named Cliff High, and he created this computer system called the Web Bots. and he generated what's called Alta reports. It's kind of like a predictive programming, a prediction program. And what it did is he had his little web crawlers going all over the internet, scanning what everybody was talking about. And then with the theory that that things were leaking into people's language, kind of like the way epinoia leaks into my language all the freaking time. And then it correlates all these connections, and it was able to predict a lot of really big events. He eventually had to shut it down because at one point the powers that be started using AI to shape the internet by injecting like millions or billions of fake people. Like all the stuff became fake. So then the web bots were rendered useless. I don't know exactly what system he's using now, but he also does a lot of cross work with this big, well-known remote viewing group. So I might have to look up Cliff High on YouTube again and see what he's talking about. But she said that Cliff High keeps talking about July 15th, which is the same day that this big conjunction with Algol happens. And she's like, he said it was a day of high, I'm like, high novelty. And she's like, yeah, because I remember him saying that. So like I remember it was like extreme novelty or something like that. Novelty in Cliff High's language means very, very weird, very, very strange, very, very outside the norm of what you're used to. So he's like, he's hyper focused on this July 15th date. She's pointing out this July 15th date, and this July 15th date is completely saturated with the symbols that Epinoia has been giving me over the past couple weeks when she's been telling me she's gonna freaking burn down the prison to release the prisoners. Does that mean something like that is gonna happen on July 15th? I don't know. So I don't make predictions anymore. All I can do is look at the tea leaves, look at what is in front of me, look at the pieces that I did not just pull out of my own ass, but Epinoia gave them to me, line them up and see what kind of picture it makes. And they're all basically saying what she's been saying is like, we're going to get out of this soon. The souls are going to get out of this soon. We're going to be freed from this restrictive freaking place. But what's that going to look like? It's going to look freaking nuts. It's going to look nuts. Does that mean it's going to happen? I don't know. All I know is the impressions that she gives me. Like when I say I need a new car and she says, no, you don't. Or I'm going to need a new car and she's like, no, you won't. Or, you know, I'm thinking ahead. It's like, you know, this current process isn't going to keep working because the economy's collapsing and like I'm not going to be able to live. And she's like, don't worry about it. It's like, worry about what you got to do in here, clearing yourself, getting in alignment and stuff like that. I talked to my friend about how, yeah, I mean, if you just look at like going to some astrology program or something like that, yeah, you can go out as far as you want because that computer model is going to predict where the stars are going to eventually be. So it might give you the impression like, oh, well, here's what's going to happen in 2026. Unless, like I said in the other video, if we simplify it and take that whole astrology program and view it as a calendar. Here's the calendar, okay? It's March. We can look all the way to December. Unless I burn the calendar. Now it's all useless. That's what we're talking about here. That conjunction, Uranus, big massive changes that are sneaky and unexpected. No one's going to know the time of the day. So that's the thing. That's what Jesus said. So it may not be on that day. Typically might, but we got to look at these signposts because what they can mean is you're in the season, you're in the time frame. That's what they might mean. So a lot of people, every time they see a freaking eclipse or something, they think there's going to be a rapture. But there's signs and seasons. They're meant for signs and seasons. Doesn't mean that something is going to specifically happen on this specific day, but that doesn't mean it isn't either. We don't know. She's just, with that new feeling sense that she's given me, it's kind of like we're definitely coming to a close. She drew my attention to the hero's journey. Like, This is the part where the hero goes into the final thing. And then what's after the final thing? Freedom to live. Being freed. When I dug into the article that had to do with this conjunction, it had a lot of those aspects, like freedom, revolution, breaking free of slavery, that sort of thing. So when this stuff happens, like, you got to remember the bigger picture. The bigger picture, like all the deep, deep, deep esoteric stuff we've learned on this channel through epinoia. It's so deep. But like, you are a soul in a place, trapped in a body, having an experience. And the place is breaking down. It can't be fixed. It's not going to go back to the 80s. It just isn't. It isn't. The governments are not going to suddenly start loving their people again. Money is not magically going to become fair. Like, people aren't going to magically go back to good, wholesome, spiritual, loving values just by freaking the virtue of going through time. It isn't going to go back to the way it was. It has to be reset. On the other channels I see that come up in my feed, all these different psychics, all these different people, they keep talking about it's going to be a great reset. There's going to be a great reset this year. It's going to be this year, 2024, the year of the wood dragon. All these things are aligning, and yet that conjunction has happened before, and it's always created some very big effects, but doesn't mean that all those previous ones were in Taurus, which in the Alien Sky video, things on the other side, that Taurus, the bull, is it's in very close proximity to the angry goddess, Sophia, who's been talking to me for several years now and has been saying that she's getting very angry and it can't be fixed and she's going to break it. Now we see all this stuff. And as soon as these planets go into this retrograde thing, I'm hit with something so hard I can't even freaking describe, like how intense that was. Like, that's never happened. And I've been through a lot of different these galactic waves and different planetary conjunctions, but I ain't never felt nothing like that. Like, something is happening, and not everybody has the astrological alignment for it to be in attunement with certain things, or been through the different paths to be attuned and initiated into Sophia and all this stuff, so they might not pick up on it as much. So the people that have to speak up and tell people what we're seeing, what we're being shown, what we're being guided to, what's being dropped into our lap, so that we can understand it, so she can tell us. She's trying to help us by warning us, by telling us, like, something is coming. It's going to be big. It's for your own good. You need to focus on letting go. Letting go. You might be, if you're too stuck in your ego mind, then you're attached to the world. What Jesus says, like, you gotta detach from the world, cut the umbilical. I was just shuffling. It's funny. I was shuffling tarot deck right before I turned on the video, and like, this jumped out, Ace of Wands, and as soon as that did, a line from the Nag Hammadi popped into my head. It says, when you see a single staff, but the text is all broke because it's like the most important page in the freaking book, and the papyrus or whatever it is all kind of like messed up, and they couldn't translate all the words. Like, of course it was. I mean, of all the pages to be messed up, let's just screw up the most important page, right? But what section of the Nag Hammadi was that line in? And it was talking about at the end, when he's like, at the time of destruction, the first power of darkness will come upon you, which he later explains to be fear. And is like, the passage is like big and scary, but passed through without hesitation. This angry goddess thing that's going to happen is kind of like the portal. And he was saying, I'm like, okay, so I ask, are you talking about the destroyer? I pulled one more card. Boom. There it is, the devil card. And in this particular deck, the devil's got all these what? His lower body looks like a kraken mixed with Medusa, with the snakes. Like this one is more representative of that destroyer, and he's keeping everybody, you know, he's up here. Now thing is, like this is the persona. I mean, that's what people see when it happens. It's like, holy crap, that thing is big and scary and awful and looks like a monster, but it's actually her. Call it no, I'm not going to make jokes not about that, but yeah, she transforms. And think of it more like Clash of the Titans. Medusa destroys the Kraken. Medusa destroys the Kraken, but when you see it, it doesn't mean you ain't gonna, it's not scary. Does it look like that, or is that just happening on the other side of the world, and then we just kind of like blip into something? Like, we don't know. We don't know. All we can do is look at the clues, look at the tea leaves, put all the things on the table that she's given us, and show all the cross connections, and most importantly, the timing of when these clues are being given. And then you have this whole big picture, which kind of makes sense of why something crazy would have happened the other day. And now I have this like enhanced feeling sense. Like I can just, like I can feel it. I can feel this pressure building. Like, you gotta understand, like what would be getting destroyed is all the corruption, all the bad stuff, all the suffering, all the nasty crap. And then your soul is then parked into something new in a place where that stuff is no longer there. It's what you actually want deep down. Like, we can be really attached to our mediocre lives and the little things that we do. It's like, oh, but I love this person, I love this person. Like, I don't want that to end. Well, wouldn't you rather love this person and that person and be in a place where there wasn't all this suffering, where you weren't in a body that breaks down, where you weren't constantly crushed under the heel of authority and made to be a wage slave that you can barely get by on, and the sky is beautiful and full of big things, and the world is the way you always wished it would be? This is going to be very, very, we're going into a point in time, whether it looks exactly like that or if it looks something similar. Like, we never know until it happens. And then we look at it in retrospect. We never know until it happens. But either which way, it is a signal of big, 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 big major change. But with the Cliff High thing factored in there, and him talking about super novelty or hyper novelty, the most extreme form of woo-woo, as he would say, that tells me it's not just going to be some symbolic thing of, like, you know, that's political or something like that. You know, hyper novelty says it's going to be something really, really strange and way outside what is normal in the world. So it's very, very exciting. It's very, very interesting how this stuff is coming up. And part of what that thing did yesterday, it wasn't just like the fear of not having any money, but it kind of like any kind of subconscious fear I might have had toward, you know, the coming shift has been eliminated, because I'm getting, with my particular path and what I did and what she does with me, I get to see things a little bit differently. So where a lot of the spiritual people might go on YouTube and be like, there's going to be this big, you know, reset, everything's going to be wonderful. Or me, the way she brought me up, like there's an ugly side to that. There's a scary side to that. I get to see that. I get to understand that, so I could actually, within as much as I'm possible, you know, ready to do, at least mentally prepare people for it. At least have the idea in your head that if you see something crazy happen in the sky one day, when you hear something that sounds like horns, and the sky starts turning dark and red, and weird shit starts to happen, you will see it and be less afraid, because that is not hell. That's not something, I mean, it's going to be big, crazy, and scary, but that's her. That's the big cataclysmic event. That's her smashing the bad. Your soul is going to be safe. But think, have at least have some, you can get some satisfaction in knowing that those that aren't sold people, the people that control things here, have been making things miserable for everybody, they're going to see that and they are going to be scared. Now, I don't know this. It's just what I've kind of been led to believe with things she showed me, is like this particular place that we're in now, this, you know, this might be the end of it. Like, it's not going to recycle again. It's going to be put in a whole new place. So all these guys, so all these powers that be that just wasted the last 60, 70 years building all these freaking massive underground cities like we have all over the US, they think they're going to escape it like last time by going down there. Yeah, that ain't gonna help you this time, bud. So you better be on the right side of the line, because mom is coming. She's in dragon mode, and she's going to smash everything. I didn't know hardly any of this stuff until the last couple months, when she just started dropping things in front of my face. Boom, 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 boom. Connect this, connect that, connect this, connect that. Look at this. It'll be important later. Look at that. It'll be important later. Talk to this person. Look at what they got. Connect the dots, connect the dots, connect the dots. Now we come to a date. That is either, it's either the date or it is a marker of probably somewhere between that date and the end of the month. Now, on the far end, I would say like August 8th, the Lionsgate portal. But whenever I ask her, I was like, is it going into August? Yes. No. No. July? Yes. No. Yes. It was like, that's the thing. You do everything you can all this time to prepare people as best they can, and the last thing would be to like understand, like, in this month things are going to get crazy. Maybe not just with that, like there's no telling what we're going to see start coming out here. There could be, we got a lot of things, a lot of shoes in the air that have not dropped yet. So be prepared. Don't be scared. You're here for a reason. You're here. She brought you here. I'm a tiny little speck on the internet. I am a tiny little speck on YouTube. The only reason anybody ends up on this channel is if she led you to it. Some come, some go, whatever. But it's like you're given a chance at least to get some information. But if you wander off, like, she's probably finding another way to kind of let you know. But pay attention, like, what is happening with you, what kind of feelings and shifts are happening, and people need to start talking in the YouTube comments, talking in the groups, whatever. Drop the shy stuff. Oh, the other thing, you know, it's kind of sort of related, because I said something and my astrologer friend said something. I'm like, I get the sense now that we can only like really work on ourselves. It's kind of like any kind of manifestation, magic, anything like that. Like, it's like the time for doing anything to shift things in the outside world is past. And she's like, she got something very similar to that. She's like, all the contracts are canceled. So anything you've been trying to manifest or whatever is canceled. It's like, so what that means is we're at the point now, like she said before, the water slide. It's like when you're on the water slide, you don't tell the water slide which way to go. Like, hey, I want to go left. If it turns to the right, you're going to go right. So now is the time to surrender. Surrender to her. Surrender to the Divine Mother. Let go and understand, like, it's in her hands now. Okay, I got to wrap this up here. Running out of time, but yeah, in the time we got left, we're still doing everything that we can do. We're doing readings, we're doing clearings, we're doing the energy pendants, we're doing the oils, whatever we can do. You know, it's kind of like Nick Fury said in the first Avengers movie. You know, until the point in which the world actually ends, we will act as though it intends to spin on. That's the way I look at it. Like, I'm not going to just stop what I'm doing because of these particular clues. I'm going to keep doing it as if it's going to continue to go on, but we have to take note of weird things like this when they come up, because, you know, here's this thing that's coming up that has all these aspects in it that are in conjunction with the most recent clues that she's presented me with. It's like, we can't just freaking ignore that. Okay, so contact us through the Etsy store, clumencreations.etsy.com. Chris and Lumen. See you next time.